So thank you everyone for participating today at this webinar. Good morning or good afternoon based on where you're located to everyone. And welcome to our jointly hosted webinar on cybersecurity solutions for satellite operations with our new partner at CYSEC. So we have several speakers today and we will start with a very quick round of introductions. For LeafSpace, it is myself, so it's Taylor Dorigatti, business developer and sales engineer. I've been at LeafSpace for about a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half now, and I deal and manage global leads and customers. With me today is also Giovanni Pandolfi. Go ahead, Giovanni, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Giovanni Pandolfi. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO of LeafSpace. Nice to have you all here.
Also, together with Giovanni is Edward Berger.
Hi everyone, I'm glad to see so many participants. So I'm Edward, I've been with LeafSpace about a year and a half, and I manage our licensing and regulatory affairs for the ground station network. So back to you, Taylor.
So this is on LeafSpace's side. Instead of our partner CYSEC, there's going to be Patrick, Julien, and Sasha. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yeah, Patrick, Trinkler. I'm the CEO and co-founder of CYSEC. And with me,
Alexandre, I'm the CTO of CYSEC. So nice to meet you, everyone.
And we are based here in Lausanne, Switzerland. And we're in the call. They are Julien is based in Paris and is security specialist.
Perfect. So I think we can start with the presentation. First of all, I'll start out with introducing LeafSpace, just a general overview, and then I'll hand it over to CYSEC to then move on to, let's say, the main topic of this webinar. So who is LeafSpace? So LeafSpace is a ground segment as a service provider for the new space market. We have a proprietary globally distributed ground station infrastructure, which is continually expanding. Our currently active ground stations are distributed globally. Currently, we have 5 active in Italy, Spain, Lithuania, Ireland, and the Azores. And we have several additional overseas ground stations to be activated soon. We provide 2 main services. LeafLine on one hand, it is a multi-mission shared ground station network composed of the 5 antennas I previously mentioned and currently growing. Our capabilities are supporting VHF, UHF, S, and X band, in addition to also evaluating our support to higher frequencies in the near term, expanding our capabilities to a more extensive group of modulations and higher data rates also. All of this focused towards accelerating the service activation even further. So the service delivery of LeafLine to customers is managed by our in-house developed scheduler system, which satisfies all our customers' mission operations requirements and allocates the necessary satellite passes over the network. So this is the first service we offer to our customers. Secondly, we have LeafKey, which is a dedicated tailored ground station network that is deployed and managed by ourselves to meet a specific customer's needs. This is typically used and targeted for satellite constellation operators, requiring a capacity which would otherwise saturate the LeafLine service, which is a multi-mission kind of service. In addition also to being much more cost-effective given the volume of passes required by a constellation, and also because it follows the gradual deployment of the constellation itself through the ground station deployment. So in addition to these 2 main services, we also have LEOP support, backup ground segment service support, and we also provide complete ground station systems and consultancy services. We are an Italy-based company. We're located near Lake Como in northern Italy, and we currently have about 24 full-time employees, also counting the remote employees in the US. So thanks to our very solid team, we have expertise and know-how in space engineering, RF, telecommunications engineering, licensing and regulation, software development, and business engineering fields. So this is a general overview of what we provide and what we do in the field. I think this is enough on our side. I'll pass the word over to Patrick for CYSEC.
Yes, thank you. CYSEC, with Sasha and Yacine, we found the company 2 years ago. We are based in Switzerland, Lausanne, in the innovation park of the EPFL. We have right now 22 persons. we develop a solution for the new confidential computing field. The solution is a security execution environment. The name of the product is ARCA. The solution where we protect data in use, data at rest, edit in transfer, and we can protect data and code, the confidentiality of the code, and the integrity of the code, and at the same time the confidentiality and the integrity of the data. We have a different segment like space, network, telecom, banks, financial segment, and IoT. We have already just one bank to use our solution, and yeah, we have already some ESA project, and we are part of ESA big accelerator. Inside of the team, half of the person have a PhD from ETHZ or EPFL or some other university in Europe, from Europe. The mindset of the team is soccer. They are real to have this profile, this mindset for develop our solution, and we have already some grant from European Commission, project like H2020 or Eurostar for develop some new feature for our solution, for example, to be post-quantum ready, and for have some other kind of new algorithm for the security. Next slide. Yeah, as mentioned before, our solution is to protect data at rest, data in motion, and data in use. And right now, the major point is to protect data in use. And that's in function of a different cybersecurity risk mitigation, because data at rest, data in motion, there are already some beautiful solutions for protect this kind of data, but there are no solution, or there are not a lot of solution for protect data in use. And it's not only for the mitigate cybersecurity risk, but there are some new legal aspect like GDPR. And with our solution, we can to be compliant for the GDPR. For the moment, we use it a lot for the financial vertical, but I think we need to address this kind of topic for the space and for the communication too.
So Patrick, may I begin the regulatory outlook?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a very, very interesting topic when we're looking at the cybersecurity requirements imposed on operators by national regulators and also at the international level. And having just a short few minutes to make this presentation, I want to keep this at a very high level, but I want to first point out that this is a really enormous topic right now in regulatory activities. And the cybersecurity requirements for operators is in full development. And the definition of new regulatory procedures to guarantee that your space system, whether we're talking about ground station operations or the space segment itself, there are a lot of very interesting activities happening right now to ensure that these missions and all infrastructural elements can satisfy national security concerns with regards to the cybersecurity measures that they implement. So to go into a very short but high-level summary of some of the key things to talk about in this field, and because the audience I assume is mostly in the US, I'll give a quick overview in the US and then also of Europe, in particular at the EU level and in the UK. So really quickly, in the US, the major thing we talk about when we talk about cybersecurity requirements It's the remote sensing licensing. So when your mission is launched via the United States, when you have command structures in the US, if your satellite is licensed in the US and you're also performing remote sensing activities, you have to turn to NOAA. You have to turn to NOAA, and in particular, you go to the CRSRA office. This is the Commercial Remote Sensing Regulatory Affairs Office, situated within the NESDIS office of NOAA. And there were some really interesting developments in the past 2 years. So until 2019, if you turned to the Code of Federal Regulations, the actual text that concerns the remote sensing licensing regime, it was calling for the data protection plan as composed by the operator, in which the operator must satisfy the national security concerns of the US by describing exactly how it protects the integrity of its data and the transmissions of the data in the full mission life cycle. In 2018, though, a new approach has been introduced, and this is a tiered approach. And in the tiered approach, the NOAA will classify your mission according to the potential severity it could pose if it were compromised. So the tiers are ranked in severity from 1 to 3. A tier 1 mission is considered to pose a very minimal threat. Tiers 2 and 3 are considered, and in particular tier 3, are considered to represent very significant risks based on the type of data being compromised, if compromised, and also based on the type of physical threat that your mission could pose if compromised, in particular if it has propulsion systems. So this is a new system that we're looking at right now, and of particular importance, the NIST of the United States has encryption models which it approves and does not approve. And one thing you have to be able to satisfy NOAA to is that your mission is using an encryption system which is conforming to the NIST requirements. And this applies to the tier 2 and tier 3 classifications in NOAA. So moving quickly to the UK, the UK has a system which is quite similar in having classifications. And when you are applying for your license, you have to turn to the UK Space Agency, which is the body that's going to review your application for a UK space activity license. And similarly, they have a system called the traffic light system. In this, you have green, amber, and red. And it similarly is assessing many security aspects, but also regulatory procedural aspects in considering how difficult it will be for this mission to be licensed. And one thing that you have to also satisfy to the UK Space Agency when you are submitting your licensing details in the application, you have to try to conform as much as possible to the UK National Cybersecurity Centre's guidance and also Cyber Essentials. And these are two instruments that you can turn to for clear indications, very detailed, granular indications on how to develop a cyber secure space mission. And then I will quickly wrap up this section on discussing what's happening at the EU level, at the regional level in the European Union. And we can turn to the Network and Information Systems Directive passed in 2016, well, approved in 16, and it's in force now. And this directive's terms by now should be implemented in all states of the Union. And in this directive, the main goal is to boost the preparedness of member states to establish clear and coherent and widely adapted cybersecurity measures, not only in space. We're not talking about only space here, but all information systems. And then it also tries to promote means of communication, coordination, to develop strategy, to improve cybersecurity measures, and furthermore, to allow the member states to communicate with one another when there is a major breach. But as I said at the beginning, this is a field which is in full and active development. And so the main point I want to leave before passing back to Patrick is that we should expect in the space sector to see more countries developing more and enforceable regulatory instruments, which you will have to conform to when applying for a license, whether it's the ground segment license or a space activity license like in the UK, or a spectrum license in the FCC. In the United States, for example, the recent space policy directive number 3 is actually calling for improved approaches with regards to encryption of private space activities. And we have a lot of activity happening right now in the US for the development of a more wide-reaching, totally comprehensive space activity regulatory regime for all the new types of activities that we see emerging. So the final point I want to make is, do expect more regulation on this topic, because as Patrick knows, as many cybersecurity experts know, there are really serious risks arriving in this field, and the regulatory community is actively working to catch up and make sure that we have a very stable and safe environment in which to perform our commercial and experimental activities. If you're interested in researching this more for yourselves, you should absolutely look at the EU, at the National Cybersecurity Center of the UK, and at the Department of State of the US, as well as the NO website. And for academic research, it would not be a mistake to look at the research of Dimitras Tefoudi, who has done a really lengthy investigation of this exact topic, cyber security in space. So on that note, I will pass the floor back to Patrick, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Next slide.
Yeah, maybe just one point on.
Yeah, I think Giovanni can integrate a little bit on the security of ground segment as a service solutions, and then we can pass on to the next slide.
Yeah, exactly. So by taking what Patrick and Edward said, of course, as LiveSpace, as a ground segment as a service provider, we of course have the priority to protect the data of our customers, and also of course our internal data. We do that in different ways. So protecting in a certain way the kind of internal communications that we have between the ground station and our network cloud engine and the operators that operate the network, and also other layers of security to ensure the data that is transmitted and transferred from and to the customer to the actual ground station network. And of course, this covers everything from the ground station itself, from the baseband processing to the actual delivery of the data to the customer. Of course, what is missing in general is a part of another layer of security to provide an end-to-end solution from the satellite itself to the mission control software of the customer. And that's why this is the reason why we partner with CYSEC to provide this end-to-end solution of cybersecurity solution to provide an even more secure ground segment as a service solution, but not just that, really a full secure satellite operation mean. And of course, Patrick and Sasha can go on with more details on the next slide.
Yeah. Yeah, as mentioned before, the CYSEC solution is a secure execution environment, and the name is solution is ARCA. And what is it? A secure execution environment? It's a real enclave. We generate an enclave, okay, and it's a software enclave with some specific virtualization, okay, and where it's a Linux-based virtualization and operating system behind this enclave. And inside of this enclave, you can deploy container-based application. And one of that is the application of LiveSpace. But this part of the enclave, you can deploy it in the satellite, and we can deploy it in the infrastructure of LiveSpace, and we can deploy it at the final user of this data from satellite. And now we generate hand-to-hand security. We have a specific hardware we can deploy in the different part of the ground, but we can deploy some part of software in the satellite too, or in case they have some security element already in the satellite, we can do this connection between our enclave and the security element. And finally, if we need, we can deploy a board inside of satellite, real for generate this connection and for protect data when we process the data in the satellite, in the ground station, and then finally to the client. And with a key management, we generate some key for exchange encrypted data and to store encrypted this data, sometimes in the satellite and in the ground station or to the final user. And that's real to have this hand-to-hand security. And as mentioned before, is open source Linux based, container compatible, and you can deploy it with the standard cloud tools like Kubernetes, and we manage the redundancy in case they have the problem, and we manage the key sharing between the different components for do this encryption and decryption.
Sorry, I want to add that, of course, providing the security of just the ground segment is a thing, as what we do today. Providing security to the overall satellite operation, satellite mission, is another thing, and that's why this is the end-to-end security that we can do together with CYSEC. Because of course, if we don't ensure that our customers are actually using some cybersecurity best practice or guidelines, of course we can be as secure as possible, but then there will be some mishaps at the interfaces and so on. And then of course, getting more and more in a commercial market, as the new space or the small sat market is going to, of course, the level of possible threat increases every time. So it's not just of course a regulatory need, as Edward was saying before. It's really a practical and then of course commercial need that we need to address. With this collaboration with CYSEC, we will be ready to provide to our customer a turnkey solution for their cybersecurity, so they do not need to develop any in-house or do-it-yourself solution. That could be good from a start, but then of course it's hard to maintain, it's costly to maintain, and in some cases it doesn't cover everything, and it's not a real end-to-end solution. I want to stress really on the fact that the only way to be at least sure at a certain level, of course, is to have an end-to-end solution, and this is where we're going. And maybe Patrick, you can also add some details on the different other commercial offers that you guys have. So the possibility with Arca on-prem or as a service.
Absolutely. The idea is that I think there are three axes for our solution. As mentioned before, protect data at rest, protect data in use, and data in motion. Finally, we can deploy it with an appliance or some software in on-premise, in the satellite, in the ground station, or the final user. But we will offer a container as a service solution, okay, here in Switzerland with a Tier 4 data center, and you can deploy a part of your application inside of our cloud solution. And we are cloud ready and not only on-premise, okay? And the idea, you can generate this hybrid cloud infrastructure. You have a satellite, ground station, final user, and you can use some component in the cloud, on the multi-cloud, public multi-cloud like Amazon and Google. That's the idea. And we offer this solution, as mentioned before, on-premise or in container as a service, and is combined with the solution, the lease space. And we have already some clients who use our solution for the blockchain, for example, and that's we have a different topology. We can to be centralized, decentralized, or distributed. That's possible with our solution. And there are really three axes: data at rest, in motion, in use, cloud or on-premise, and finally centralized, decentralized, or distributed.
Sorry, I want to just to add quite a hands-on example of how this can be used. So if you are a satellite operator, you have your mission control software that is running somewhere. It could be on a physical hardware on your mission control center, or on the cloud, of course. We have seen also with the impact of this pandemic that maybe moving from a cloud-based solution is for sure helpful when we are all working from remote. This is a thing that we have done at LeafSpace from day one on our journey on ground segment as a service solution. But let's take your mission control software. If you can put it on Kubernetes, and typically the cloud solution are already available like that, you can put on Kubernetes on an Arca physical hardware if you want to have actually physical access to that, or on CYSEC data center to handle that as a service. And of course, you need also to put in mind to have a root of trust on the satellite side. So really try to control everything, all the process from day one. So from where the satellite is, what kind of software do you have on board, which kind of solution you can have on board to be compliant with the cybersecurity guidelines, and then of course what you can do on the ground. On our side, we will ensure that everything that we get from your interface to what we transmit to the satellite is actually secured and encrypted. And then of course all the way down, or the other way around, from the ground station to your mission control software. I don't know if you're familiar with our way of operations, but just to give you a hint on that, we typically stop our baseband processing to the transfer frame of the different protocols that we support. In this way, the data that we transfer from the ground station to your interface is just bits. And whatever you do with that transfer frame is, of course, one of your tasks to do. So, of course, it's better to have it encrypted, so you can encrypt all the way to the satellite. Of course, we do not suggest anyone to provide just free data and not encrypted data. That's not a way to securely operate a space mission. Of course, in addition to that, we can add together right now with CYSEC solution that of course has also some it's compliant with some security certification. I don't know if Sasha or Patrick, you want to add something on that.
Yeah, just maybe for explain of our solution, this 3-layer, they are this enclave, and or inside they are this code and data protected, and we have this virtualization on operating system level. It's open source based, and finally they are this cryptographic backup, and in the appliance we have a HSM. And it's other security model, and this HSM is certified fits and common criteria. And in this case, there are this kind of certification of your solution, because the generation of key is certified and is protected inside of this HSM. And this certification is based off the different requirement developed by NIST, for example, or for BSI in Germany. And yeah, it's a standard certification we use in the financial segment, and the idea to integrate this kind of standard in the space too. And this kind of standard is used, for example, for the payment infrastructure, and they work from many years, and it's ready to use it in the space environment. And finally, just for mention, for the backup, cryptographic backup, we are not only hardware, we have software part, and we are a project inside of CYSEC for have some post-quantum functionality for the next risks we have in the future.
Perfect.
Great. So I think we covered all the points of this last slide. And we can move on to questions. I believe the question and answer area is now activated. So feel free to write down any questions you have, and we'll try to answer the best we can.
Yeah, maybe I can add some point. Guys, yesterday we hold a webinar on ground station network cost structure and why to go to build it or to outsource it. This is the same kind of, we can have the same kind of discussion also here with CYSEC solution. So of course, there is a possibility that you build up your own solution by yourself. Of course, you need to take into account your CapEx and then OpEx, of course, estimation for maintenance and so on. You know, of course, you need to bear in mind that it's not a simple topic, of course. And there are a lot of certification, as you've seen. There are a lot of implications about regulations. And as we've seen, is always changing. So partnering with a company like CYSEC that completely owns these topics and are always looking, as Patrick said, also new regulation and looking at post-quantum, for example, and so on. Of course, it's a good solution to handle all your security issues.
So I see we still have no questions open. I guess that's a good sign. It was clear enough.
Yeah, I don't know if the technical team from CYSEC, you want to add something, or I don't know, so if you have some specific topics you want to put on the table.
Julien?
I have a question. May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's imagine there's an existing client already, its mission is already up. It's been up for, let's say, 3 years. They are satisfied with their cybersecurity regime that they have in place, but they would like to improve the measures they're using. So everything is fully operational already. How would they approach CYSEC, and how could CYSEC walk us through how they would implement their systems on top of an already functioning network?
Julien?
As opposed to collaborating with LeafSpace and or CYSEC in advance of a mission while it's still being built.
Sorry, I can take that one. That's a very good question, because security is not always building a brand new system from scratch. It's also how to upgrade existing systems. The thing is that as soon it's possible to, for instance, to do software update for an existing satellite system, or for let's say the mission control software on the ground side, it's always possible to help the customer to upgrade the security of the system. Of course, it's always better to come with something which has been already secured, and that you can on which you can have some assumptions that the system have never been compromised. But if we are, and it's often the case for the existing system, if we are okay to assume that the system has not been compromised so far, you can upgrade the part of the system by exchanging, sharing keys, setting up the encryption security libraries, in order to then on those security libraries have been configured and updated upgraded on the different part of pieces of the system. Then you can start right away to generate secure communication. So that's always possible. And that's definitely something which needs to be considered, because it's the first step before moving to something which is fully secure. At least you can upgrade it.
So Edward actually asked a question which was pretty much the same as the one that Remy Gourdon just asked. So what is the approach to integrating the secure CYSEC containers within existing missions with existing flight software? So I guess what Julien just spoke about does address this question pretty much.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Gordon. I did not see your...
That worked out fine though. That was good.
Okay, well.
So we have a second question also from an anonymous attendee. If something is end-to-end encrypted between the satellite and the mission control software, what added value is there for a satellite operator having CYSEC integrated in the LeafSpace network?
Guys, CYSEC, you want to take this one?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, if you have an end-to-end encryption between the satellite and the mission control software, obviously you have a secure channel. But then the question is, how do you provision the right keys to the satellite? And that's where actually CYSEC environment, secure environment can come into into play, where we, as it was previously mentioned. So just to summarize, so we provide an environment where we protect the business logic of the application. So you can imagine one of the use case scenario can be the provisioning of keys and or other let's say sensitive data into the satellite. So that's one of the, let's say, use cases that I can directly see from about this question.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sasha. So for now, I think we have these two questions. Joe, do you want to add something else on this second one?
Well, no, I think Sasha has covered everything that we can cover. Of course, has said end-to-end encryption is what we push our customers to have, but of course you need to take into account all the little details of what does it mean to really have an end-to-end encryption. So of course, is something, as said from Julien, that you can put in practice even though your satellite is already in orbit. Of course, it makes much more sense if you really establish a complete secure process from day one, when you start designing your satellite, when you are partnering with your suppliers and your service providers, to the actual decommissioning of the satellite. So it's something, of course, that at least for what we have seen in the markets, not been in first priority of all these other operators so far. But as said before, with the increasing number of real operational endeavors and commercial endeavors, the number of threats could be, of course, increased, because it's getting more and more interesting to access to this kind of data. I'm not just talking about Earth observation satellites with their intelligence data, but also communication and IoT constellations. That's for sure a good thing. So maybe while we wait for other questions, if we may have, I want just to have some words on the fact that we just started this partnership with CYSEC. It's been a few months that we are talking and working on how to put this in practice. Probably other events like this will follow to try to increase and build up a kind of a series of guidelines and best practice to have in the satellite operations world. And we have different ideas. We discussed with Patrick a few times. There could be also in the future some other events, much more interesting, I would say, from an hacking perspective, probably, where we actually get in practice all these topics that we have discussed so far. And I think we have another question. Yes,
so we have a third question from Daniel Martin. As a customer with the API interactions with LeafSpace, will the interaction with LeafSpace also be secured with the CYSEC security improvements?
I can take this one. So it depends on the how you want to use this CYSEC solution. You can have your own mission control software running on Arca, as we said before, and in this way, everything will be covered by that. Right now, without the CYSEC solution, our APIs are covered through SSL certificates. So this has, of course, already a layer of security. We suggest to add another layer of security after the API interface.
Perfect. So I think for now we had these three questions which have been extensively covered. Does anyone have any internal additional questions they'd like to ask and maybe discuss about, or have we discussed most of what we were planning to do?
Maybe Edward has another one.
Oh, there's actually, yes, there's a fifth question also. From Val Quagiato. Mr. Pandolfi talked extensively yesterday about cloud services for the ground segment. What kind of cybersecurity can you provide for the cloud domain?
Okay, so maybe the question is about what kind of other security we can address on the cloud. So it depends on which kind of sort of connection you have from the cloud to the external external blocks that you have. So in our case is the different ground stations and the interface with the customer. You need, of course, to be sure that all these interfaces are covered, because it's typically when a threat or a hacker or whatever can get inside. In our solution, for example, we have IPsec VPNs between the ground stations and the network cloud engine, where all our software is running, and then we have these SSL certificates for the interfaces that we have with our customers. So in this time, all the different all the data flow is covered by these encryption layers. I don't know if Patrick, you want to add something else on how one can even more increase their level of security of a cloud domain.
I mean, unfortunately, I haven't been yesterday so I haven't followed the discussion, the webinar about the cloud services. But from what I can tell, with the CYSEC solution, it's basically the same. Let's say the same logical thinking as I already said. So we provide an environment which protects, additionally to protecting cryptographic keys, we also protect the business logic of the application. So the application which will be running in this case on the cloud platform, and we also offer a convenient way to use this HSM interface, which previously was more difficult, to use. So that's like convenient package that we offer to deploy your application. And also what's interesting for this potential cloud deployments is that we are Docker ready, so you can deploy your Docker containers straight away in our environment. So yeah, hopefully this answers the question.
Yeah, as mentioned before, we are compliant with the all different standard of the container. Okay, we are part of, we compliant with this Linux Foundation project, the container, and Docker are part of this project, and we are compatible with this kind of standard, and we can deploy and generate the redundancy of the container with the Kubernetes. And the other side, we have some other internal functionality for manage the redundancies of the key with the standard cloud solution.
Yeah, I want to add maybe a point on, since you mentioned Kubernetes. I see also from some other talks during this virtual Mozart this time that it's a technology and it's really started to get its presence also in this market. So, for example, all our cloud services are running under Kubernetes. All your solution right now has Kubernetes as native, basically, as support. And I think it's getting more and more into the market, and also I think it's also important to see the shift between, just having virtual machines running on the cloud to actually having a real cloud solution based on this kind of tools. So really good to see the market go in that direction. Edward, do you have some other questions?
No, I don't, but you've now the focus is on me. So let me see. I am wondering, for the guys at CYSEC, what is a brief history of your company in terms of how you got the idea to move into this sector? Are you coming from the space sector, or are you coming from a cybersecurity background? And how did you meet the intersection of space operations and cybersecurity?
Yeah, I think we have two different profiles in the company. Sasha is more from cybersecurity, from hacking, and for the other side, me, I am more for enterprise solution. And in the past, we have some project with my previous company, with the University of Geneva, and with the Swiss Space Office for develop a solution for exchange quantum key with this new technology, quantum key distribution system, and then some other project with ESA and Airbus for provide some solution for Ariane 6. And that's my background. With the background from Sasha, we combined the two solution for space, and we propose this solution HARCA for the space.
Perfect. Thanks, Patrick. So I have another question from Remy. CYSEC mentioned their work in the IoT field. How do you handle resource-constrained devices, and how do you deploy the secure enclave on those devices? Certain spacecrafts might have the same kind of constraints.
Julien, you can take this one.
Yeah, I can take that one. Okay. The primary objective of the, let's say, of the CYSEC offering is mostly to secure the backend, but also, what does it mean securing the backend? Is also securing the connection with the devices, being able to trust the identity of devices, and being able to provision keys. And for that, we're able to provide, let's say, tailored software libraries for some very constrained devices, or we have also, in particular for the spacecraft area, to cope with your question, we have also developed an offering in order to provide some specific components, hardware-based components based on secure elements on our very specific board to provide capabilities for spacecraft to embed some specific hardware for managing the keys, for managing the encryption, decryption functionalities. So that's basically a way to handle constrained devices is really to have in some way different components that would be compatible with the different constraints that you have. And at the end, the best solution is I would say, of course, might not be obvious for everyone, but at the end, it's to have a secure hardware that will be onboarded on the spacecraft during manufacturing process, so that we are sure that you can trust the key that has been stored within the spacecraft, and that you can securely manage the identity of the spacecraft, managing the secure channel between the backend, the ground station, let's say, and the spacecraft. But we are aware that it doesn't fit with all the conditions, so that's why we have also software libraries that are made to be compatible with let's say less powerful CPUs and onboard computers.
Thank you, Julien.
If you guys are interested, if you go to the CYSEC website, you can see a really well done documentation about the APIs and so on. That is not so easy to see around.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Great. So I think we're coming close to the hour presentation here. So I don't see any additional questions. I think we can wrap it up, unless you guys have any added things.
No, if you want to go to the last slide, there you can find all the contacts information,
Exactly.
both of LeapSpace and CYSEC.
For any additional questions, or if you guys would like to have some more details regarding the actual commercial offer and further developments of this kind of joint service.
And just wanted to say that, of course, we are recording this webinar, as you have seen. We probably made it available for sure to registrants, and then we're thinking about making it publicly available. But you will of course get a notification for that.
Absolutely. Great. So it was a pleasure to have all of you here, and thank you to all the attendees. And we hope this was an interesting talk about this new topic and new service offer that we have with our partner CYSEC.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and have a great day. Speak with you
Thanks
soon.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.